This is a continuation of the FSA training video. I will now continue to read the script. After you finish reviewing a question, return to the context menu and select Unmark Review Item. You can also right-click, if available on your device, and select Unmark Review Item. The item number will revert to a solid rectangle without a folded corner, and the item number in the drop-down list will no longer have a flag icon. Now, practice selecting Mark for Review and Unmark Review Item. For now, leave this question marked for review. Now, select the context menu and then click the notepad icon. The notepad tool will display in a pop-up window. If you want to make notes for later reference, you can type them into this window. There's a new notepad for each question. To view your notes, you will need to return to the question where you type the note and click the notepad icon. As with other windows, you can resize and drag this pop-up window around the page if needed. The toolbar at the top left of the notepad offers options to cut, copy, or paste text within your notes. Now practice typing text into the notepad and using the cut, copy, and paste features. These notes are not included as a part of your response, but they are monitored by the testing contractor. Notes that you save in the notepad will be saved for the duration of the test. To close the notepad without saving the notes you've typed, click Cancel. To save the notes you've typed and close the notepad, click Save and Close. Now close the notepad. You can use the Highlight Selection tool to highlight portions of a question. To highlight, click and drag to select the text you want to highlight. Then, right-click in the highlighted area and select Highlight Selection. There are 4 colors available for highlighting: yellow, orange, mint green, and lavender. Select a color and your text will be highlighted. You cannot highlight over previously highlighted text. To change the highlight color of your selection, you will need to remove or reset the highlighting and then highlight text in a different color. To remove all highlighting, right-click and select Reset Highlighting from the context menu. To remove only certain portions of highlighting, select the text you want to remove highlighting from, right-click, and choose Remove Highlight. Practice highlighting and removing highlighting from words in the question. In the top left corner of your screen, you'll see a drop-down menu with the words Items and up and down arrows. This is the item summary drop-down list. Now click to open this list. You will see the item numbers. The item summary allows you to quickly move to different questions. You can use this drop-down list to revisit questions you've already seen or to see the next question. Items that are unanswered or marked for review are indicated in the drop-down. Are there any questions about any of these tools? If so, please ask your teacher. Now, we will look at the types of questions you will see throughout the test. Unless instructed to do so, you do not need to answer the questions at this time. You will have time after we discuss the various item types to practice answering the questions. Question 1 is an equation editor item. For equation editor items, the keypad has to be open from within the answer area. To begin, you'll read the question or instructions on the screen. After you finish reading the instructions, you'll click the keypad icon in the answer area, a cursor will appear inside the answer area, and the keypad will open in a window at the bottom of the screen. Use the buttons on the keypad to create your answer. To close the keypad, click the X found in the top right corner of the window. Some keypads have additional functions or buttons that others do not. This means you must open the keypad for each answer area. Remember that this tool is not a calculator. It will not perform calculations for you. It only allows you to enter the response or expression required to answer the question. Practice locating the answer area and entering some numbers or expressions into the space now. You can either click the numbers or functions on the screen or use your keyboard. Now, click Next to move to question 2. Note that if you have not selected an answer, you'll receive a message alerting you that you have not selected an answer. While we're discussing these item types, click Yes each time this message appears. Question 2 is a matching item. For this question, you're required to read the item and use the information in the table. Then, click the boxes which match the answer. To remove a check mark, click the box again. Click Next to move to question 3, which is another equation editor item. For this equation editor item, the keypad is already displayed at the bottom of the screen. Similar to the first item, you may also use the keys on the keyboard to create an answer. Begin by clicking in the answer space, which is the blank box below the instructions and above the equation buttons. Once you click in the answer space, you'll see a cursor. Practice entering some numbers in the space now. You can either click the numbers on the screen or use your keyboard. The arrows on the top left of the equation buttons panel allow you to move back and forth between characters you've typed into the answer space. You can also use the arrows on your keyboard or click on the space to which you want to move your cursor. Practice moving back and forth in the answer space now. The arrows in the middle of the top row of the equation buttons panel allow you to undo and redo your last action. The square arrow with an X in the middle at the right side of the top row of equation buttons is the delete button. The delete button can be used to remove parts of the answer. You can also use the backspace or delete keys on your keyboard. Practice using undo, redo, and delete now. For this question, you'll see the numerical keypad along with the decimal point and negative sign. On other equation editor items, the keypad may also include keys for additional functions and variables. Practice responding to question 3 now. Are there any questions about equation editor types? If so, please ask your teacher at this time. Click Next to move to question 4, which is an edit task with choice items. For this question, you click each highlighted blank, click the down arrow, and select the best answer from the drop-down list. You may need to scroll within the drop-down to see all answer options. Once you've selected an answer, click OK to apply that selection. Click Cancel to exit without selecting an answer. Repeat this for each shaded blank in the item. Click Next to move to question 5, which is a drag-and-drop hot text item. This question type requires you to place and move items to an answer space. To begin, you will read the questions or instructions on the screen. You'll see the object bank and answer space. For this question, the object bank is in the area below the answer space. Click on an item in the object bank and drag it into the answer space. Read the instructions carefully to see how many items you should move. If you need to change an answer once you've dragged the item from the object bank to the answer space, you can drag the item out of the answer space and back into the object bank. Remember that you should only leave items in the answer space that are meant to be part of your answer. When you're finished responding to the question, check to make sure that the answer space does not have any extra items that do not belong. Now click Next until you reach question 7. Question 7 is an open response item. This type of question requires you to type your answer into an answer space with your keyboard. Click in the answer space and practice typing a response. Click Next to move to question 8. Question 8 is a multi-select item, which requires you to choose all the answers you think are correct. First, you'll read the question or instructions on the screen. After you finish reading the question, read the answer choices. Finally, click the button next to the answer options you want to select. A check mark will appear in the box. To remove a check mark, click the selected box again. Sometimes this question type will tell you a specific number of items to select. Others, such as this question, ask you to select all correct options without specifying a number. You'll have either 5 or 6 options to select from on a multi-select item. Now, select the context menu and then select a set of letters with a line through them, which is the strike-through tool. You can use the strike-through tool to cross out answer choices that you've eliminated as possible correct answers. Click the first answer option. You should see a gray line through that answer option. Note that using strike-through on an answer option you have previously chosen does not automatically remove your selection of that response. Strike-through is only available for multiple choice and multi-select item types. To remove a strike-through, click on the eliminated option. Click anywhere outside the box around the answers to turn off the strike-through tool. Now practice adding and removing strike-throughs. Are there any questions about the strike-through tool? If so, please ask your teacher. Now click Next until you reach question 10. Question 10 is a multiple choice item. This question type requires you to choose the answer you think is correct. To begin, you'll read the question or instructions on the screen. After you finish reading the question, read the answer choices. Finally, click the button next to an answer option to select your answer. The button will become filled in. To remove your selection, click the button again. Click Next until you reach question 12, which is a graphic response item display, grid item. Different grid items will require you to respond in different ways. For this item, select from the list of items below each blank space. To change your answer, simply select a different answer. This will automatically replace the previous answer. Other grid items may require using different tools, such as add point, connect line, or clicking to create your response, so be sure to read all questions carefully. Click Next until you reach question 14. Question 14 is another equation editor item. For this item, you'll see the numerical keypad along with the decimal point and negative sign. The features on the right side of the equation button panel are for special functions that allow you to create equations or expressions. These buttons will vary based on the question. If your keyboard has the equivalent of these buttons, you may use your keyboard to type that function as well. For this question, you'll see the following special buttons. On the first row are the variables x and y. On the second row are the add, subtract, multiply, and divide buttons. On the third row are the less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and greater than buttons. On the fourth row are the fraction, exponent, subscript, parentheses, absolute value, square root, nth root, pi, and the variable I buttons. On the bottom row are the trigonometric functions sine, cosine, tangent, arcsine, arccosine, arctangent. FYI, arcsine is another name for inverse sine, arccosine, inverse cosine, so on and so forth. The fraction button will create two boxes to form a fraction, with one box for the numerator and the other for the denominator. When you click the fraction button, your cursor will automatically move to the numerator. You'll enter in a number for the numerator and then click or use the down arrow to move it to the denominator. Now that you can add multiple numbers and symbols in both the numerator and denominator. To move outside the fraction, use the arrow buttons or click outside the fraction to move your cursor. The exponent and subscript buttons will allow you to add an exponent or subscript to a previously entered numeral. Once you've entered the base number, click the exponent or subscript button. The cursor will move into the higher box for the exponent or the lower box for the subscript. Enter the exponent or subscript number. Use the right arrow, either on the screen or on your keyboard, to move out of the exponent or subscript functions. The parentheses button will create a pair of parentheses. The absolute value button will create a pair of bars. Once you click the parentheses or absolute value buttons, your cursor will automatically move inside the parentheses or bars. Move the cursor outside the parentheses or absolute value signs by clicking or using the arrows in order to continue your equation. The square root button will create a box set as the active region under a square root. When you click the end through button, your cursor will automatically move to the index. You will enter a number for the index and then use the right arrow on your keyboard or click in the radicand box to move to the radicand. The pi button creates the pi symbol. Use the right arrow on your keypad or click in the space to the right of the pi symbol to move the cursor. The trigonometric function buttons allows you to add these functions to your answers. Practice using the special function buttons on this equation editor item. Be sure to practice using all the equation buttons. Raise your hand or ask your teacher if you have any questions. Now, click next until you reach question 17. Question 17 is a three-part item. Part A is a multi-select item, Part B is a multiple choice item, and Part C is an editing task with choice item. We've already reviewed these item types. If an item has more than one part, you must complete each part of the item. Question 17 has two panels. The left panel is the reading panel. For this item, the reading panel provides information to help answer all parts of the question. Some items of panels may include a question in the reading panel, so be sure to read both panels carefully. You'll see the Expand Collapse Panel tool, which looks like a double-sided arrow. This tool will expand the reading panel or the question and answer panel so it takes up most of the screen. Now, click the right-facing arrow of the Expand Collapse Panel tool to expand the reading panel. Clicking the left-facing arrow will return the screen to normal. Now, click the left-facing arrow again. The reading panel will shrink and the question and answer panel will cover the screen. Click the right-facing arrow to see both the reading panel and question and answer panel. Now, practice using the Expand Collapse Panel tool and responding to each part of this item. Now, click Next until you reach question 19. Question 19 is a table item. This question type requires you to click in the blank cells in the table and type in your response. Only numerical values are accepted for table items. If you enter a non-numerical value in the box, you'll receive an error message. Practice clicking in the blank cells and typing responses. You may now begin session 1 of the practice test. Return to question 1 and read and respond to each question while practicing using the tools. There are 19 practice items in this session. Do not exit the session until instructed to do so. Remember, if you need assistance understanding how to answer a question, you can select Tutorial, which is a lowercase I under the context menu. You can also ask your teacher if you have any questions. When you finish answering questions in session 1, navigate to question 19 by clicking Next or by using the item summary to select 19. Now we will practice how you will exit the test if you need to leave the room for an extended period of time during the actual test. The pause button allows you to pause and exit the test for an extended period of time. Now select Pause. A pop-up window will appear and ask you to confirm that you want to pause the test and to ask your test administrator before pausing your test. You should then verify with your test administrator whether you should pause your test. For today, click No. On the day of the test, if you have your test administrator's permission, you will click Yes. At this time, guys, I'm going to take a short break. Please move on to the third video for the remainder of the practice script.